The decision to ban the tech giant Huawei from Spark's 5G rollout is because of the technology, not because the company is Chinese. The electronic spy agency has rejected Spark's plan to use Huawei equipment in its new network, citing significant national security risks. However, there are concerns that an equally significant risk will be to this country's relationship with its biggest trading partner. We can speak with the Minister responsible for the GCSB, Andrew Little, now. He's in the Wellington studio. Good morning.
Good morning, Susan.
So significant national security risks. What risks?
I'm not going to go into those. That's classified, but they are risks. The role of the GCSB at this point in the process is to make an assessment when a telco wants to introduce new technology to their network, to assess that against potential national security risks. That has been found in this case. That's what Spark was notified of yesterday. Spark has said they now want to look at that, but they now have the option of coming back and working with the GCSB to see if it can mitigate those assessed risks.
Okay, so are we talking about evidence or intelligence that is informing this view that it is a national security risk?
The assessment is done by the GCSB. It's done on the basis of its evidence and information about the technology, and it's got to make an assessment of whether there are risks to national security. It has done that and informed Spark, and that's why we're now in this part of the process. The next step, if Spark wants to go down that path, is then to work with the GCSB on any mitigations.
Okay, so it's not effectively a ban on Huawei yet, is it?
I've seen that language used. No, this is as required under the relevant legislation, the Telecommunications Interception Capability and Security Act, is when a telco wants to introduce new technology, it goes to the GCSB and notifies the GCSB. The GCSB carries out an assessment, a technical assessment, amongst other things, and makes an assessment about whether or not that technology would expose the network to risk. It has done that on this occasion.
So, because we do have a statement here. We do have a statement here from information that's come in from Huawei saying that it wants to work together and address any concerns. So, is that something that you're going to be happy that Spark does?
Well, the company involved working with GCSB so far is Spark. Spark is the one that wants to introduce the technology. How Spark, if it chooses to do so, works with the GCSB to look at mitigations is a matter for Spark, but that is the next part of the process if they choose to do that.
So would the GCSB then share information with Spark as to what these national security risks are?
Well, the GCSB has gone back to Spark and given Spark its view, its assessment. It will work with Spark on that.
But on those specifics, because you won't tell us, you won't tell the public what those national security risks are, but will the GCSB be telling Spark what those national security risks are? Because otherwise, how is this potentially going to be fixed if they don't know what they're dealing with?
Yeah, look, I'm not privy to, or I don't know the specific information that the GCSB discloses to Spark. They've given them their conclusion. They will work with Spark on that. There's the opportunity to look at mitigations.
Okay, so that's not a hard no by the sound of things, because, I mean, this is technical information that would be dealing with, and so the technicality of that would have to be known, wouldn't it?
Yes, and look, it's not a hard no, because the process is then to give the telco an opportunity to look at what steps can be taken to mitigate the assessed national risk. Okay,
so this is not because Huawei is Chinese, is it?
Look, it's because the GCSB has assessed with what it understands about the technology, having got the information from Spark, that there is a risk with the use of that technology. I can't go beyond that. I'm not going to go beyond that.
Okay, but this is Chinese technology. So is it about the fact that it's Chinese technology, or is it specifically because of the actual components involved?
Look, I can't go into the kind of full breadth of the assessment. It's classified. We're at the point where the GCSB, having discharged its statutory duty to assess for risk, has found that there is a risk, and it is working with Spark to see whether there can be any
If it's about a national security risk, though, that would lead people to think that this is because there's the possibility of hacking or the possibility of spying. So could another Chinese company, in theory, get into this contract with Spark if it's not going to be Huawei?
Well, the way the legislation works is that the telco goes to the GCSB with the particular proposal for the particular technology they wish to introduce. That's all that is assessed. It's not about the country. It's not about even particularly the company. It is about the technology that is proposed. So that's the basis of the assessment.
So another Chinese company could, in theory, do this?
Yeah, I mean, if Spark or any other telco had other technology they wished to introduce, other 5G technology, they would go to the GCSB and that technology would be assessed. But the assessment will be based on the technology that the telco proposes to use, and the GCSB will assess that against any national security risks.
Okay, what influence has been exerted from other Five Eyes partners, including the United States and indeed including Australia, where there was a similar situation just a few days ago and where there has been a ban?
Well, Australia made a decision some months ago. I can say with considerable confidence that there's been no representations made to the GCSB from Australia, from the United States, from anywhere about how it should go about making its decision. It has statutory responsibilities under the legislation and it has discharged those responsibilities.
Because the situation with Australia, Chinese officials were worried that that might set a precedent, and it does look like that has happened. You're saying that that hasn't set a precedent for you?
I think every country,
or for the GCSB.
Every country dealing with the introduction of 5G technology is alert to potential risks. We have a statutory framework in which that happens. It's now an obligation for telcos to indicate to the GCSB what technology they're introducing, what changes they want to make, so that that can be assessed. We know that telecommunications networks, like other infrastructure, are now points of vulnerability worldwide for incursion and attacks and cyber attacks and what have you. So in this day and age, in the world we live in, we've got to make sure that everything is done to protect our country from those risks, and that's what we're doing.
Okay, but there have been reports that essentially Chinese spies use Huawei technology. Is that part of this?
I'm not familiar with the reports. It's not something that I've heard of, and I'm not sure it's something that would be relevant to the GCSB's role at this point of the exercise, which is to assess
Chinese
the technology.
spies wouldn't be relevant to the
risk.
GCSB's role?
Well, the GCSB has got to look at the technology that the particular telco wants to use. That's what's being assessed, and look at any risk associated with that.
But surely a risk like that, if there was a connection that had been made between a particular company and espionage, that would be entirely relevant to the GCSB, wouldn't it?
Look, they will look at a number of factors. Because they are one of our intelligence agencies, what they do, the information they have is classified, but they've made their risk assessment. They've assessed that on this occasion with this technology, it poses a risk to our national security, and they've therefore notified Spark accordingly. There's now another process to go through if Spark wishes to take it up, which is to see what can be done to mitigate that risk.
Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. That is Andrew Little, the Minister responsible for the GCSB. It's 7:18.
National is describing the Immigration Minister as